Welcome to the SIWIKE podcast, the only podcast that shares the stuff you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. The SIWIKE podcast, the stuff I wish I knew earlier.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier podcast. We're here again with our guest host, Alex Luksidadi, and we thought we'd get into a conversation on startups and specifically the one that he took into YC. But previous to that, he obviously had a couple of other startups. So why don't you walk us through a little bit of kind of your startup history, your startup journey, and some of the SIWIKE along the way. So what was the first startup that you went into?
First of all, thanks for having me back here. I think I enjoyed the last talk. So excited to share more stuff here. I hope it's going to be valuable.
It'll be fine.
I'll start with, I think we talked about how I got into startup last time, where basically a friend of mine dropped out from school and then he taught me the startup way and life changed after that.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I think I went through a lot of journeys of starting or trying to start a startup, even though maybe, I don't know if maybe you can call that just a project, but some of these projects could range to weeks or months or even years. And of course, they all failed, but each one of them, of course, there's always something that I learned from it, right? In the early days, I think it's just all about okay, I felt super optimistic. I felt like I can do everything, and then it turned out that no, I can't. I'm not like a one-man army. That's the first moment of realization that you need partners. Startup is a hard thing. There's a lot of things to do. I think there's always those type of story or one-man army type of story, but and it became successful. But definitely not me. I do need other people to help me succeed. Because I think my biggest strength is probably on the technical side, but I'm not strong on business or marketing side. Because the first couple projects that I do, I built some ideas and then I tried to get it out there, and then I was like, why nobody's downloading my app? Why nobody's using my app? It's how do I do marketing? I don't know. And these are all I don't know, right? And then later on, you know what? Yeah, maybe I need partners. I think we also talk about the whole journey is actually finding the right partners is actually an important journey for me, because early days, I found a partner that doesn't do any work. They have crazy ideas, cool ideas. I joined the team and then they end up just talking about ideas but never put any work. So I started avoiding those people. And then there are co-founders who are not wanting to get their hands dirty, as in oh, okay, well, I'm good at business, so you do all the technical stuff. You build the product, and then once it's done, I will try to sell it. And then not willing to do anything else other than that. And so it ended up always in the early days, I put a lot of hours building the product, and then I don't know what they're doing. And then at the time that I deliver, hey, the product is here, I got what you want, and then they try to sell it, and then they figure out that's not that easy to sell the product, and then they ask for more things, and they're okay, cool, I built more things, and then I gave them back, here, go sell it, and oh, okay, we need more things again, and then it becomes a cycle that just never ends, and then I see no progress. I ended up just not wasting, I guess, putting a lot of time, but there's not much. And then that's when I learned about okay, maybe you need a different type of co-founder that maybe know how startup works, maybe like building MVP product.
Sure.
And testing it in a small market, or testing it maybe in a small closed and say his direct network, for example, just proof of concept of all those things. Because at the time I don't know anything. I just know how to build things, and I don't know how to sell. So if they said that I can't sell this, I just believe them. But then after I dig out about it, there's actually ways of deploying, or ways of getting this product into the hands of maybe user that are willing to test the product and give us
The early
feedback.
adopters and stuff like that, right? So yeah. So can you go into one of the early startups? So let's talk about the process of starting up a startup, right? So if you could
Yeah. Okay.
pick one of the early ones, one of the meatier ones, like maybe not the weeks long, maybe like a month or year one,
Yeah.
one that was particularly interesting. So
Yeah.
how did you start, right? Is it literally, as people say, like we had an idea and then we start coding and then hey, it's starting to develop into something, or is there more to that?
That is it. Like I don't really believe in like business plan and whatsoever. Those are, yeah, that's good for like your investor maybe, or some investor doesn't even care about like those business plan. They just want to see like, okay, you have some ideas, you put the effort to do it, and that's exactly it. Like you just need to go and do it. Don't think too much. And a lot of people like think about, oh, what if like later on we got sued? Well, usually when it comes to that, like I just tell them like, well, if someone sues you, meaning you're doing something right.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
hitting like some nerves or some people, or maybe you start eating out their market share, right? I don't know,
Sure.
but don't think too much. Like if you have an idea, start something small and try to deploy it and see if you can get some user. If you can reach out to your like direct network, see if like they want to try out this product, and it doesn't have to be paid trial as well. You can just like feedback is the most important thing. Like
Right.
if you have a product, you want to have like iterative process where you can get feedback from your potential customers, or maybe like the framework is you want to find like the early adopters who can represent like the whole market. Maybe that's hard, but like you got to start somewhere. Like for example, like early Rose Rocket, a lot of customers on the early days Rose Rocket, probably like one right now, but like most of them already like churned because like they're not. It's also a journey for us to find like the right type of customers. Like some type of customers, maybe it's not the right time to like to sell to them. Like maybe that's later on
Hmm.
because like they're not maybe they're risk averse. So usually like when you start building a startup, you want to find the type of customer like what you just mentioned, like early adopters who are
Right.
willing to take that risk. it they identify there's a challenge in the market. They have a vision that like maybe using a better software that it could improve some areas in their business, and they're willing to try it out and they're willing to give you feedback. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, so start small. Don't be afraid of like all the things that you might not even happen. You do, yeah, no, that's MVP. I think like that term, I think like it's been an overused term, but it's actually very important. Like if you want to start building a startup, like
Yeah.
don't overbuild, and try to leverage a lot of things out there. Actually, like for example, there are some like uh, it's called high fidelity wireframing
Hmm.
applications out there. Like if you don't know how to code, you could actually like build the product using like those wireframe and try to
Sure.
like get some feedback on some of people that you know. You could start like from there, right?
For sure.
uh, yeah, so maybe I'll talk about like the before Rose Rocket, we had this startup called like Freightnex.
Okay.
um, so Freightnex, I think like lasted from 2014 to 15, I think. So
Okay.
2 years,
About
2
2 years.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my co-founder Justin Sky and Justin Bailey, they started that. They invited me to join pretty early, but like I think I mentioned the story before. Like I was still at Viva. Long story short, I eventually joined them. It was a journey. Like we built a product for shippers or manufacturers, like for factories. Like basically, they have to deliver stuff from like their warehouse or their factory to somewhere else, and they use trucking companies to deliver those things. And we built that product. We thought the market is big enough in the beginning. See, this is the thing. Like you always have to start with some thesis. You know maybe there's like an opportunity here. You know there's a demand, but maybe in the beginning you thought the demand is big. maybe it is big, but then what we found out there is while there are some demand, we figure out that like the software that we're building is not mission critical. It's not something that any business would like pay a lot of money to for the software. It's a nice to have type of software.
Right.
At the end of the day, like the software is all about just basically aggregating like all the freight prices. Like when you want to like deliver something, say you have to call like many different carriers and then try to compare prices and all those things.
Right.
We built that product that basically with just one dashboard where you can just like, okay, I have an order, then I can start shopping which trucking company can give me the best service, the best rate, and chose them and start tracking and tracing once the shipments are happening. So I mean, like when we started that, we're pretty excited. Like we tried a bunch of things. We have customers, but at the end of the day, like yeah, we figured out like that the market, while there are some demands, like this is not a mission critical software, and we can't make a lot of money from it. And in the end, like we decided that we can't scale the business, and we ran out of money. All the co-founders also like ran out of money, and then we're all still like kind of like very excited that we're all kind of like working together, and then like there's a lot of opportunities in freight as well, because as we're building that business, we identify many other opportunities because we're learning more about the industry. It's just unfortunate that the product that we're building is it's not something that the market wants to pay for big bucks. So yeah, so at the end of the day, like the advice here is just like you don't know what you know, like you think you know, but like until you do it, you can take so many different advices from different people, but
right.
Really that's the thing about startup, like the journey of like figuring things out, because we might have some thesis, we might know something, or we might think there is some opportunity there, but like until you do it, you don't know. Yeah.
And
So
when you joined them, were you at the point where they had customers already, or did you join them even before they had their first customer?
they already have some customers. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have an example of one of the startups that you had where you had to be involved in that first customer? Because that's usually challenging, where hey, I built something, the world needs it. Well, I think the world needs it, and then nobody buys, right? So how do you do that? Did you like pivot switch, or were you ever involved in that that part of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like it is always like an iterative process. Like okay, we started talking to the customers, and then this is like maybe roughly what they want, but then again, like the thing about like having like these early customers, sometimes you want to be careful as well, because like this early customer might not represent like the whole market, what the whole market wants, right?
Right.
So if you chose something that, let's say I want feature X, then if you build it, then like you might ended up having that feature X that like maybe not optimized to like tackle like the challenge for like the rest of the cohort.
Sure.
It might be just optimized to their business. So sometimes like you want to make sure that like you have enough like sample size to figure out like what feature you want to build. But then that's hard, like early days, right? So you have to use your guts feeling. You might like get some advices here and there, but like again, like this is the part where like do it, and then later on you'll figure it out whether this is like working or not, or this is something that the other customer wants or not. It's very hard, right? So yeah, but like that's the thing. But the whole concept of MVP, right? Like you don't want to overbuild. Like you want to leave some rooms and you build just enough. Like just the term is like kind of like hack. You don't want to build like super scalable. Like you want to build something that maybe even throwable, like disposable. Like maybe like after 3 months you figure out that this feature is actually not useful, and you want to be able to like just throw them out without like having that attachment feeling. Oh, I spent like 3 months building this thing, I don't want to delete it.
Right.
but that's the thing. Like that's the mindset. Like sometimes it's often forgotten, but you have to. Yeah, early days, just like you want to build just enough. You want to hack it. You don't want to build like a full like scalable solutions because like you never know. Maybe 3 months down the road, you need to throw that feature off.
So what sort of advice would you have for someone who's technical, right? Because you said, well, you're definitely not a one-person army, but if you're technical, you can build stuff, and you've maybe built something, but you don't necessarily have that, like the business or the marketing or the sales acumen to go and sell it. Like, I mean, the short answer is probably go find a partner that can help you with it. But are there other kind of piece of advice that you'd want to give for folks that are more on the technical side that are trying to make something happen, but you haven't yet seen a bunch of success?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the thing that I noticed, I guess I sometimes like I talk to a lot of people who wants to build startup, and they're always like so protective of like their idea, and then they're afraid of like someone stealing their idea,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're afraid of like having a partner because like they have to share like the shares of the company, and they're always like, oh, I want to like own like 80% because like I have the idea. Like,
Sure.
come on, like idea is like diamond and dozen out there,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, it's just a matter of like executions. So
Mhm.
you need a partner, and don't be afraid of like giving out shares. Like Y Combinator actually like um, suggested that like all partners are equals.
Okay.
No matter who started the idea or like who contributed the most, it should be equal. But anyway, that's Y Combinator. But my advice there is just like don't be afraid. Like you need a lot of people to validate your idea. You need like partners,
Right.
and don't be afraid to to share the company, because like at the end of the day, like if your company grows bigger, then like there'll be enough money for like all of you.
Sure.
And people shouldn't be afraid of like just giving out shares or having partners just because like they're afraid of not owning the whole idea or the whole company.
For sure. And I would echo the sentiment that, an idea is a dime a dozen, that sort of thing, because everyone, like 100 people have your exact same idea. It's the person that does something with it and then does it well that actually turns it into a reality and all that. So talk to us a little bit about kind of the incubator. So you talk about Y Combinator. Talk about that experience. What should you look for in an incubator, and what would help someone become successful in getting into an incubator? So what are some of the advice that you share on that side?
Yeah, so for Y Combinator specifically, I think Y Combinator they want to see like startup who have vision. Like even though maybe it sounds like maybe bullshit or something, like a lot of startup like, oh, we're gonna become like $1 billion company, but actually like to become like a founder, you need that like a little bit of like crazy vision that like
Hmm.
maybe like sounds like impossible to reach. But one of the so Y Combinator have like this questionnaire that like every startup have to fill out, and one of the question is actually, it used to be like how can you become like $1 billion company,
Hmm.
and then now I think it becomes like how can you become a $10 billion company. But I think like the gist there, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't speak on behalf of like Y Combinator, but like I think at least like my understanding there is like, because I've seen a lot of startup that goes to Y Combinator, just like there's no chance they can become a $10 billion company,
Right.
but somehow they're there. I think to me it just means that like the founder have like enough like creativity, like vision of like what the startup would maybe potentially could become in the future, because like from that vision then maybe like a fraction of that vision can be deployed, and they can maybe instead of 10 billion you can be like you can become $1 billion company. So if
Sure.
you start like thinking big, maybe you can achieve like um, a portion of that vision, and you're still going to be successful. But if you already started becoming you already started by being pessimistic, then maybe there's no chance for you to become anything. I don't know.
For sure. So it sounds like you need a bit of crazy in there, in the sense that if you can dream big, and I think there's this expression, shoot for the stars because you might hit the moon, that sort of thing. So if you shoot for
Yeah.
10 billion, you get 100 million, that's pretty good, right? So that's seems like that's the mentality. So is it always thinking that it has to be huge and big and things like that, or are there other ways of thinking through what else might be kind of interesting for Y Combinator or other incubators?
I think there's a lot of like things that they consider, but like on top of my head, probably like founders dynamic or founders history probably also play parts on it. I think I'm lucky that like I have a long relationship with one of my co-founder, Justin Sky. We had that startup back, or he had that startup back in 2009 or 8. Where I was part of it. And so if like, let's say Y Combinator sees this, oh, cool, like these two guys have been working together for a long time and they're still not fighting, they're still wanting to work together, means that like they have a good synergy, right?
Right.
So I think that that's little signals like that that are always like I think it will help them make that decisions to like whether like to accept you or not. Like I think I don't know if I mentioned the story about like our Airbnb, where Jessica Livingston, one of the YC co-founder, um, uh, well, Airbnb almost basically like not getting accepted because like everybody just like, what is this business like
Sure.
renting like an air mattress, like a mattress in some condo somewhere in San Francisco? What is this thing, right? And then like, but Jessica Livingston, like, look at the hard work that the co-founder did, and the synergy between the co-founders, and Jessica Livingston basically says like, let's give these guys a chance. I think like they're amazing people. They work really hard and so on. And look at them now. They're like one of the most successful company,
Sure.
unicorn, right? So co-founders dynamic, I think that's like one of the signals that they're looking for. Of course, if you have tractions, that's always like help. And tractions could be like a lot of things as well. Like sometimes like I think one trick, I guess maybe if I want to call it, for B2B SaaS company like for us. Sometimes in the early days it's hard to build to have tractions because like we don't have a product market fit yet. People
Sure.
are not willing to like pay money, but you can show tractions in a different way. Maybe you can do it like using letter of intent,
Hmm.
meaning that like, okay, I'm building a solution for your business. Let's put down in like a letter of intent where basically, okay, if I can solve your business challenges by with our software X, as be specific, you are willing to pay X amount of money per month for to use the software, and
Sure.
that is not legally binding actually by no means. So
Okay.
it's not like, oh, okay, well, if you guys deliver all these things, I have to pay you guys. No. So you could use that as to build attraction. You have these letter of intents with all of your early adopters without even asking them to pay you, as
Hmm.
long as like they're part of that iteration process where you can like show like the progress, and then maybe they can start putting that software in some part of their business and to test it out in tandem with their legacy software. And that's all like very yeah very valuable to have in the early day.
Okay.
You can show them to Y Combinator that that's like basically your early tractions, even though you're still making $0.
Yeah.
Um,
That's amazing. I think from a B2B perspective, that's definitely useful information to have. And as we start to wrap up this episode, what I took from a lot of that is one is to start. So if you have an idea, build something, but build small, that MVP, and really to get that feedback is that important thing. But just be mindful of that, the first customers and stuff of that. If it's not the right fit, and then make sure you're not building something for a smaller market that's not necessarily what you want. And then it really comes to the fit with the partners and the founders and stuff like that, because to be a one-man army is hard and probably not likely to be successful, right? And to have that fit, it really seems like it's one of those things that you found was one of the big things for success, and it seems like that it's something that some of the incubators look for as well. So what are some other kind of parting words of wisdom that you'd have for folks that are trying to get into the entrepreneurial journey and start something of their own? What are some other additional words of wisdom or SWIKE that you would have and share?
So fundraising is a distraction. Like it's a long process. It could distract you from like building a product. So so try to like just again like back to like just try to bootstrap it if you could, like if you depend on funding to build something, then it's gonna be a lot of distraction. And then especially if you don't raise in from the right people who are like maybe more seasoned investor, maybe like your friends and family, they're going to keep asking you, hey, what happened? And then you're going to have no answer or good answer to like give them, because they're going to be asking like, when can I get my money back? Something like that. Don't raise too early. If you can continue like testing your product in the market, getting those feedback, iterating, I think that's more productive than doing fundraising pretty early. Because like even YCombinator actually, the whole that 3 months of like YCombinator, they told us, don't fundraise. Like if somebody like came to you wanting to like basically invest on you, just ask him. If it's not straightforward, if you're not giving me check right now without like too much condition, like just tell them wait later.
Right.
Because like the idea here is like you want to like build enough, and then at the end of like that 3 months, like literally the last day of like the program is the demo day. Sure. And there is 1 week before demo day where we are focused on fundraising and literally like building the decks and everything. But before that, like we're not supposed to like basically fundraise because it's so much distraction.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, where I actually have heard someone say that if you're in the startup, try to build a business instead of an acquisition target, right? Because sometimes when you have kind of all the smoke and mirrors and the promises and the vision, it's good to have, but until you, but it's much better to actually build a business that you know can make $1 and then make 2 and then 3 and then 4 and continue on. So I think that's great advice. So thanks so much, Alex, for joining us again for another episode, and hopefully we have you back for a future episode.
Awesome. Thank you, Luki.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for joining us on the SWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you found this podcast. And if you can give us a review, that would be very appreciated. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn at Lukidanu, Lukidanu, and the same on most social media platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.